am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, your host for today and founder of Light Changes Coaching. Welcome to another awesome episode of Be Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless. Now, I am so honored, thrilled, and delighted today to be joined by someone very highly energetic and who sings to my own heart. We speak very similar languages, so we resonate so well, and I'm sure the energy is going to come through to you today. Ryan Stanley, he is an author, a speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur. And I asked him, well, what is it you do? You know, what's your thing when you talk about an entrepreneur and a coach? And he just said awesomeness. And I thought, great, I love it. So he is the center of awesomeness, truth, life, purpose. And we're going to go into what that means and what that means for you when you engage in those things, when you recognize who you are. So welcome, Ryan. Hi.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week. Thank you for having me, Rana.
It's a
and
pleasure.
Hi to you as well. And hi to everybody else out there.
Now, what I was going to remind you of just before we hit the record button, but I just thought, I'll catch you on the spot. Now, you set an intention for this recording to be my new favorite episode, right?
Favorite episode ever until I'm on it for the second time for the comeback. That is my genuine intention today. But I'm glad you reminded me, because I will now up my game a little bit even more, because that is still my intention.
Yep. Just renew the intention. Exactly.
Kick it into gear.
And all that kind of that dancing around the room, hyping yourself up. Now it's
feeling it.
Now you actually have a history in the music industry, right? Because I can see all the records behind you.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of music, live music in particular. I like improvisational music. I like kind of seeing where it's going to go. I was in artist management for a long time. So I used to manage a bunch of bands right before I became a coach. That was really kind of what my main gig, pun intended, I suppose. I'm a super huge fan of music. I love listening to vinyl every once in a while. Sometimes it's just nice to kind of take out, an old record, a glass of wine, or actually new records. I have some new records as well. But like sometimes it's just a different feel. It's like a different form of energy, right? When you're listening to vinyl. So, but yeah, super huge fan of music.
Brilliant. But now, am I right in thinking you used to work with musicians, or you still work with musicians in your
even from a coaching standpoint? Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I work with cultural creatives. When I first started coaching, I was really honed specifically on musicians and people in the music industry. And I really was focused on that for about 4 or 5 years. And then, I was working with IPEC, and I became their first ever internal coach. So I coached all of their staff from, entry level all the way up to the CEO. And while doing that, I really recognized my ability to work with people in a lot of different walks of life. And obviously, when doing that, we didn't just talk about work. We also coached around personal things. And so it was exciting for me there's certainly value and importance in choosing a niche. And I still do have musicians reach out to me very often. And I have some clients who are still musicians. But I was excited at that, really serving as much of humanity as possible. And so since then, I kind of expanded. I've worked with doctors. I've worked with, authors. I work with just anybody who is genuinely interested in being the best version of themselves and recognizing that they have fears, they have blocks, they have limiting beliefs that are keeping them from that outcome.
Yeah, and I should say IPEC, standing for Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching.
It certainly does.
Which of course is where I did my coaching certification too, which is I saying we speak similar languages. And it's interesting what you said there, because you were talking about, I work with doctors, I work with all kinds of other people to be the best version of themselves, and we all have limiting beliefs. And I have to say, when you're new to the personal development pathway, because it's very easy for us at this stage when we're experienced to take the lingo and assume everybody knows what it means.
Sure.
And it was just a short while ago, actually, I just took a step back and thought how far I've come.
Yeah.
And realized, actually, before I started this whole personal development pathway, I didn't actually understand what was meant by, it's just this term we bandy around, what was meant by limiting beliefs. And then you'd hear all this lingo and stuff about how to get rid of it, or how to overcome them, but it never really made any sense. So why don't we start there?
I think it's a great idea, because if you don't know what something is, why would you want to even get rid of it to begin with?
Exactly. And it's such an important part of what you do with when you're helping your clients, when we're talking about purpose, truth.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in fact, and real quick, before I jump into the limiting beliefs, that's a great point. I was speaking with somebody recently, and I was even just talking about living on purpose. I was like, well, of course you want to live on purpose. And like, I probably said it like 7 times within, a short dialogue. And the guy turned to me, he's like, Ryan, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does that mean to live on purpose? And to me, I was like, oh, like, and so then we went to a whole deeper conversation. So that's a great point. So thank you for bringing that up. So limiting beliefs, man. I mean, there's something that we all have. They're beliefs that basically don't serve the future that we want. They're beliefs that are typically given to us from our life experience, often from our parents or just, our culture. And they've just become part of who we are and kind of ingrained in our way of being. And so as an example might be, it's difficult to earn money. It's hard to lose weight. People don't like me because of X. Or it's going to be, all these different things that you just kind of don't even know that you believe, but you believe. And so therefore they are limiting you from stepping into your greatness, because why would you step into working hard or earning money if you felt like it was difficult? Or why would you feel good about earning money if you earned that was difficult? These different types of things. And so they're beliefs that we don't even know that are ingrained in our thought process, in our subconscious. And so through working with a great coach, they will recognize them just in a casual conversation. And it's so funny, little tiny words just kind of pop up here and there. You don't even know that you're saying them. And that's one of my favorite things sometimes about in a coaching conversation is like, awesome. So glad you said all that. I just want to point out a couple little things that you said. And you tell me how that, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I hadn't even thought of it that way. And exactly, it's just a tape recorder that just goes off and is often keeping them small.
Yeah, it's just plucking out from them what they view as so normal and reflecting it back at them and then saying, is this what you want to carry on believing? And how do you think that might be limiting you? So I'm a very visual person, so I always then think of something holding me back. If it's limiting me, it's stopping me from moving forward. It's like I might have a massive sort of, it will tied up in a load of rope. It's limiting me, but I need to untie that rope, which sometimes is really easy, straightforward. Sometimes it's a bit more complicated. Sometimes there might be a few rounds wrapped around me that take longer, but once I free myself, then exactly that, we are free to move forwards.
Yeah, and there's a great, just easy question. You touched on as well, but it's like, the old just go to, like, how true is that? Like, just how true is it? And when you really, and often they'll be like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. You just said that in this example, making money is difficult. So how true is that? Are there people that it's not difficult for? Well, yeah, but just for clarity, so it's not necessarily difficult, but you believe it's difficult for you. Yes, it's true. Okay. So then how is that serving your purpose? Well, it's not, right? So all of a sudden, when you start to get curious and start diving into these people and anybody, us as human nature, right? And we start to ask them these questions. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have made time to ask myself that question because of my limiting belief. I officially believed it to be true. So why would I ask about it anyway? And that's often the power of coaching.
Exactly. And you do, you have a ton of YouTube, you have a YouTube channel called Teach Me to Sell with a ton of stuff on there that since you touched on the money aspect, that perhaps I imagine there's a lot of content in there that would help people unravel those, because it's those limiting beliefs that may be stopping people moving forward or being what they term as successful in their business.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you for sharing that. So yeah, it's a YouTube channel. It's called Teach Me to Sell, but it's so much more. It's really for entrepreneurs. It's for anybody who has become some sort of a solopreneur, what we call service-oriented solopreneurs, or SOSs. And they got into this business. Maybe their life was changed by a coach or a consultant or a physical trainer. So they decided they wanted to do the same thing. And now they got certified. They went through the thing. And all of a sudden they have their first conversation with a prospective client, and they realize that they have to charge money. And all of a sudden they freak out and they get uncomfortable and they charge half price, or they give their stuff away for free or whatever. And so this YouTube channel is really just helping people recognize a couple different things, some very specific sales processes and sales skills and tools, but also my role for Teach Me to Sell is that I'm the headmaster of mindset. And so I've got a ton of videos there just that really don't have anything specifically to do with sales as much as they have to do with being a human being, because we're always in sales in some capacity, right? Even if you're trying to get your friends to go see your favorite band, if they've never heard of them before, you are selling the value of that band, right? Or watch your favorite show. Oh my gosh, you have to watch the show. I just saw it. This is what I love about it. Like, you're selling them something because you're passionate about it. And so my role is to just help people recognize that they can be whoever they want to be. And I give them a lot of tips and tools for doing that. And also just speak from my own experience as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a human being.
Yeah, exactly. So that mindset piece, which is just so important, and we cannot and should not undervalue that at all. So tell us a little bit about your story. And I know you can pick and choose as you like, but obviously you would have had to have transitioned into this entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you know what? I did, but I've kind of always been an entrepreneur, at least since my young adulthood, right? Since my late teens. My father was an entrepreneur growing up, sometimes for better, some more often for worse, for being honest. But I learned a lot of things that you can be an entrepreneur, you can create your own business. So like in my DNA in some capacity, it was always kind of there. And so, I mean, even in my late teens, I ended up getting into my first entry into entrepreneurship was like a multi-level marketing organization, right? Or a direct sales company where I was selling environmentally safe products. And this is back in 1994. And so it wasn't as everywhere as it is today. Thank goodness. But anyway, so in that, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure many of you have read it and heard of it. Changed my life. And so that was the piece of mindset, right? That really had me understand the value of choosing your thoughts every single day, and that thoughts are things, and you can create a statement of desire. You can remind yourself every single day of who you want to be and do something about it. And then so over the next, decade plus, I worked in a lot of different capacities as either an entrepreneur or like with my family, as kind of supporting their startups, right? So I was always involved in some sort of a startup. And then in 2008, I had my own artist management company. So going back to music, I was managing bands. And what I loved most about that was the connecting, was the empowering, was helping a lot of my clients were younger and working with them and saying like, listen, you can set large goals. You can decide who you want to be. You can step into your greatness every single day if you want to. A lot of people don't realize that musicians are entrepreneurs, including the musicians themselves. They don't even realize that, right? They just consider themselves artists and creatives, which is absolutely also true. So I was there and I enjoyed reminding them like, listen, you are here to create. And you can create whatever you want. And you've been given this gift of music. And so you can create it and put it out there. Let's set up some goals. Let's take some steps. Let's take some action towards not only creating the music, but creating a fan base and creating a brand and creating whatever it is that you want. So that's what I loved. I didn't necessarily love dealing with shady club owners. And if I was working with a band and half the members didn't want to show up to practice on time or get as many gigs as were necessary to really start putting the brand out there, it started to feel more like babysitting than it was actually creating as a team. There were some other aspects of that I just didn't love of just the industry in general from a business standpoint that had more to do with me than the industry, right? Every pot has its top, as they say. And so in 2008, it was like October, in fact, so October 2008, so just over 12 years. I remember like in the same month, the term coaching came up. And it was like life coaching, it was business coaching, it was health coaching, whatever. I don't remember the specific conversations, but I remember by the third one being like, listen, this is coming up for a reason. This is me. Like, that's what I do. That's what I love to do. That's who I am, for myself and for others, right? I love the concept of not, and back then, so for my growth, to your point earlier, my journey is constantly evolving and leveling up. But back then I was certainly just at least half, glass half full type of a guy, right? Typically looking for the bright side. And so to be able to do that for a living and also work with musicians, to keep doing what I was doing, but get rid of all the things that I didn't love, just felt like a win-win scenario. And it turned out to be.
Yeah, the coaching thing, it's funny how we feel it's a calling, or we recognize a lot of the time we actually are coaches in whatever we do. I mean, I had a similar story of 20 years as a periodontist, but
yeah,
realized actually I'm coaching, I'm listening, I'm tapping into people's mindset, I'm helping them move forward with their life, but it was just in one particular capacity. And you realize that actually you can just transfer that skill set, get certified, and then do it in a more a more holistic capacity, but it's a part that's often so inherent in us and who we are already.
Totally. And yeah, and to be able to add specific skills. And the coolest part about it is as you're learning these additional skills, you have more tools to work on yourself. And like you said, or like I said, level up your own path and your own journey and learn more about who you want to be as well, which then enables you to do the same for others even more, right? So you're constantly leveling up so you can enhance your ability to help others level up even more.
Yeah, exactly. And bring those people up around you. I know we were going to talk quite a bit actually when we had our chat earlier, and this is on the idea of leveling up, this concept of judging people, because when you do level up, you either bring people with you or you leave them behind, and that can be associated with guilt, or you may feel great about it.
Sure.
Right. And
maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
right. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And there can be, we can choose to leave people behind, or we can feel guilty about it. And obviously, when we talk about consciousness, it's about giving ourselves that choice, recognizing that we have choice, giving ourselves permission. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, love it. And so for me, what I found works best is that I understand what you're talking about. Like I got to a point where just my way of being, my level of consciousness, the types of conversations that I wanted to have, the intentions that I wanted to set in my daily life, who I wanted to be tomorrow, like how my actions today, focusing on who I wanted to be tomorrow, type of thing, didn't necessarily align with some of my old behaviors and old friends and people that I had grown up with in a certain way. And it wasn't they were these awful, evil people. And before this, I was this dirty guy, whatever. But there are changes. There is growth, right, that happens. And life is an adventure. And you certainly, as I was leveling up, what I came to recognize, I think when it first happened, I kind of went through a strong, quick, cut, listen, and it's not you, it's me. And listen, I'm just going to spend less time with you because I'm really focused on my journey right now. And once I got...
Say that?
Sort of, yeah. I think depending on the individual, some people I did, other time I just kind of was not around as much or was unavailable because of that. It was that type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it would be like, hey, no, I'm not going out tonight. I'm just working on some other things. I'm working on my project. I'm working on my business. I'm working on, this is what I'd rather be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But through that growth and through that understanding and self-awareness, what I now have kind of settled into, and which I love, is that I'm not going to be around to do all the things. But when I am with you, I'm going to be present with you. So you may not see me, you may only see me once or twice a year, or depending on the relationship. But when you do see me, I'm going to be there with you. Or when we are on the phone, I am going to be very connected and very present with you. And now if he finds out that you're in the space where you're complaining and you're negative the whole time, then that conversation is not going to last very long, right? And because I'm either going to just change the subject or let you know that, listen, this conversation isn't serving me. It's not really how I want it. I don't feel like it's the best use of my time. And then we'll end it, type of a thing. I love you. I'll see you later. Right. And so, but to just recognize that it's not, because obviously always that growth that is happening within me has nothing to do with them anyway, literally. And so it's really none of their business, and what their level of growth is none of my business, but I can decide who I want to be throughout my life. It doesn't mean that I want to, unless somebody's causing me harm, emotional harm, or is a toxic relationship, but maybe they're just not who I'm striving to be. And that has everything to do with them and nothing to do with me. So I don't have to hate them or just I can never talk to you again. It doesn't have to be so final. I think a lot of the time when people get worried about that separation and the guilt, it's like, oh my gosh, does that mean am I a jerk now because I'm never going to talk to them again? It's like, no, not even a little bit. You can talk to them whenever you want to. And that's the whole point. And that is whenever you want to and whenever you don't want to. So part of deciding who you want to be and living on purpose is just that, is deciding who you want to be. And that means deciding the types of people that you want to spend as much time with as possible or not, right? And just be aware of how that's serving you.
I'd like to add to that and almost go one further. Sometimes it's not even just the time, it's how much energy you want to spend on that relationship. Because sometimes you may still be spending time with them, but you're not necessarily investing the energy, or and when we think of energy, it might be investing the emotional investment, for example, and also the aspect of we talk about cutting the ties. And I bring this up because a lot of the time people will read things. You know, I write about this in my book, and it's a common thing we talk about. You know, when you're growing and being able to get rid of the clutter, get rid of the people that no longer serve you. And people have come back to me and said, isn't that not a bit heartless? So I love the way you've explained that, to show that it's not necessarily an intentional, I'm never going to talk to you again. It could just be a natural transition where you suddenly notice that you come together and you're not really necessarily connecting anymore. And so there's a natural drift. Like I said, sometimes you may be physically together, but it's just, you don't let that person's energy field come into yours, so it doesn't drain you anymore.
Yeah. And it's totally, I think what you'll find is it's being attached. The scary part for when you're in that growth is being attached to that I should still be friends with these people, being attached to that story. But if you let your story be that I'm growing and learning to be a conscious being in the best version of myself possible, and that's my only story, and then anything else on the side is just like, oh, so how does that relationship level with my growing and being the best version of myself? Well, it doesn't. Cool. So then it has nothing to do with the past 20 years that I've been friends with this person. It just has to do with who I am right now. I love you, and I'm growing to be the best version of myself. You know, I'll see you when I see you. I'll be in touch if you need to be. Call me if there's an emergency, if you need help, if you need guidance, if you want to talk about growth, if you have some challenges in your life. I'm still here for you. But when we are together, again, and the other thing that I was going to say is when you start to do this anyway, sometimes those people, depending on their level of energy and their level of toxicity, or their level of where they're focusing, they're not going to want to be around you anyway, because their judgment and perspective of you is going to be, oh, this gal who's like just always happy all the time and rainbows and unicorns. It's, it's not for me. And that's fine. And that's how it works. Right. And then suddenly you find yourself attracting people into your life that are looking to live on purpose and to enjoy the experience of life, and to recognize that literally every single second of life is a gift. And when you wake up in the morning, there is gravity, there is sunlight, there's oxygen, all here just so that you can exist. What are you doing? When you start to step into these concepts and you realize that this is what life is about, and this is why I'm here, to waste it worried about what someone who I kind of don't really enjoy being around cares or thinks about me isn't necessarily the best use of life. And when they start to recognize, because then you not only are you enjoying life, but you're becoming confident about it. You're recognizing this is me, like this is a gift. Like I am a child of God. I'm a divine being. I'm just energy in form. Do I want to take to your point, the time to spend it somewhere else that is not serving this magnificent gift called life?
Yeah. Or set yourself free.
Yeah. In the moment, in the now, because now is all there is. So be here now and be exactly who you want to be.
Exactly.
When you stop caring what other people think, you start living more on purpose.
So do you believe in unicorns?
Do I believe in unicorns? Yeah. Well, I believe in everything. In the grand scheme of things, there are limitless possibilities in the universe. And so I don't think that there's any here in New Jersey where I live, but somewhere in the grand scheme of the quantum realm, I'm sure there's a whole plethora of unicorns.
And is there an end to the rainbow?
That's a great question as well. I would say, scientifically, it feels like a rainbow. I think the answer is no. to keep it short without going into my layman's version of science and the bending of light and color.
But you know what? If we do take a philosophical approach to that question, I would say no as well, because light energy that cannot be created or destroyed, and it is there, and it is an endless possibility.
Absolutely. What she said.
So why would there be an end to the rainbow when it has the chance to be so beautiful? And if we approach life with presence, with curiosity, go and explore that rainbow, but with curiosity, but it doesn't have to come to an end.
And by the way, whatever you decide is true. You and everybody else, meaning so if you decide there's no end to the rainbow, then that's the truth, because and you live your life that way, right? From a philosophical standpoint, listen, this is how I'm living my life, and this is my belief. And that's why, going even back to the beginning of the conversations, when the limiting beliefs can stifle us so much, because we don't know they're there, but that's how we're living our life. Like you can believe, oh, there's no such thing as rainbows, there's no such thing as unicorns, and whatever, philosophically speaking, right? And all that stuff, that people who are happy all the time, they're not living in the real world, they're not being a realist. And that's how you're living your life. And just even the way I'm saying it, how does that feel? You can feel the energy in it, right?
It gives me a picture of was it Grumpy Smurf? Do you remember that one?
Grouchy.
Grouchy.
It's grouchy.
Grouchy. He was always like that one. Grouchy.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm thinking of Oscar the Grouch, but I thought it was Grouchy Smurf. I don't know, but yes.
Grouchy. I think you're right. Yeah. I don't think he's
little guy, blue guy, white hat.
That's it.
Yeah, I think it.
Little Smurf. And then, if you even another like limiting belief when we're talking about, what would the things, things never have to end. You can have this wonderful journey and this wonderful sense of joy, and it doesn't have to end. How often do we hear the phrase, oh, all good things come to an end?
Right. And here's the thing. I mean, if you get to the end of the rainbow and you've decided that it's over, then it's over because you decided it is. Right. I often tell people, especially working with clients, like, in fact, I read it in my book. It's like, you only get off your path. You're only off the path that you're on once you decide you are. You only fail once you decide it's over. Although, I mean, if you just keep going for your entire life, whatever your purpose is, whatever your decision is, whatever your intention is, and you keep going until you get there, it's never over. And so even if you got to the end of the rainbow again, you can always say, well, listen, this is the end of this rainbow, but look, there's one in the distance. And that one's even bigger. Let's head that way. Let's see. This was cool. Now we got it. Now it doesn't have to be the end of everything. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Double rainbows. I do like a double rainbow.
Yes, I do. I love double rainbows. Have you seen it? Have you seen the video? The video of the guy doing the double rainbow?
No.
Oh, you have to just look up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. There's like just some guy, like crazy guy out in like Oregon somewhere. And he's like, double rainbow. What does it mean? What does it mean? He's like really excited about the double rainbow. And so it's pretty humorous.
I have my 8-year-old. We do have like a really stunning sort of floor to ceiling window that covers the 2 stories of the house.
Yeah.
He stands at the top of the stairs, and occasionally I'll hear him squealing with excitement when we do see the double rainbows over the field.
Yeah.
And it's so heartwarming to hear a child with that kind of excitement. And like, yes, I'm going to keep that.
And listen, and that's just a huge lesson in itself, right? The awe and wonder of being a child, and they don't have limiting beliefs yet. They have just curiosity, and they just have intuition, and they just have the awareness of the now. And it's us adults who have these expectations of our children to act like adults who slowly but surely, implement these limiting beliefs based on our experience and based on our fears that all of a sudden put them into these people. So, as they grow into older children. So I love, and I'm not surprised, obviously, but I love that you are empowering that in your child as well. So high five, Ray. Nice.
High five. So, elbows at this time of the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. So, get out my mask.
Tell me a little bit. Let's move on that path of curiosity, because I understand it again, but remember, we're trying to diffuse all the stuff that we say every day and break it down for people to truly understand and engage in it. So
sure.
we talk about being present, we talk about being in the now, we talk about continuing or taking every step of your life with curiosity. What does that mean?
Man, it's literally one of the most powerful lessons that I've really latched onto and learned specifically over the past. It's one of these things I feel like I always knew, but really have ingrained into my daily way of being in the past year plus. And it really is, we touched on judgment earlier, right? And so the judgment versus curiosity, that's 2 sides of the same coin. They are recognizing something as different. And typically in human nature, we go to judge it as better or worse than us, right? Good or bad. And instead, if we can start stopping that and shift that judgment to curiosity. So, and this works for ourselves and it works for others, right? So I'll just start with ourselves, because so many of us do this so often, especially, as a coach, we work with clients this all the time. They're constantly judging themselves. I should be further along in my career. I should weigh less. I should have a better relationship. I should, all these different things. They're shooting on themselves all day long, right? So stop that, right? And just you can even feel the energy. Oh, I'm not good enough. I should do this. I should do that. By the way, based on what? Based on your comparison to what? Based on, what somebody else somewhere else believes or told you, right? So not only are you judging yourself with an energy that isn't serving you, but you're typically basing it on somebody else's perspective or what you care, what someone else thinks. Now take all those exact same examples and switch that should to could. Right. So now we're going from should as in judge. You should be this. And by the way, when you judge somebody, yourself or something else, you put it into a box, you label it as, and there's no room for growth because you are now, I'm judging you as bad. Well, that means he's bad. He or she's bad, right? So, and that's a very broad brush. Or I'm judging her as good, whatever it is, but you're still just saying that's what it is. As opposed to now we shift from should to could. Well, I could lose some more weight. Cool. What does that look like? I could be further along my career. Awesome. So what do you want to do about that? I could, be in a better relationship. Great. So why do you think that you're not so far? Or what could be better about it? What type of relationship are you looking for? Right. So and even just the energy, we can hear me saying it. There's a difference between judgment and curiosity. Curiosity opens up possibility. You've taken the lid off the box. You've taken the label off the thing or the individual. And now you're opening it up not only to curiosity, see what it as so two things. One, what it has been, like, why did it get to be that way? Right. So instead of judging it as bad, you can just be curious as to why it is that way. Or whatever that way is, right? Whatever, if you look at it from an observational standpoint, not a judgmental standpoint. And then once you realize that, it's like, so now I'm curious, and I was curious as to how they got to be this way. I can also now be more curious as to what it can be. So now you've opened up not only awareness, but now a possibility, an opportunity, and creativity. And so when we intentionally shift from judgment to curiosity, we shift from this energy of this is happening to me and that there's no, this is just, it is what it is in a way that there's nothing I can do about it and I don't like it, or I do like it, to just, it could be anything. It could be whatever I want it to be. And I get to be curious as to what that is going to be. And so that's mostly with ourselves, so that's with ourselves and others. But the other just clear example of now taking it outside of yourself, outside the should, the could, right? For ourselves, if you grow up, an example would be someone grows up in a town with a culture and maybe a family with a heritage, and there's a certain way of being, right? Certain limiting beliefs we touched on earlier, but you are the way you are. You have a perspective based on every single second of your life, which makes perfect sense. And it's okay to feel that way. But based on that perspective, you then see things as good or bad, better or worse, different from you. Now, and in that case, let's just say, so I grew up in Western New Jersey, right? And if I, growing up this whole way and had just kind of stayed in this bubble for the sake of this conversation, and then one day went to Newark Airport, which is right outside New York City. It's one of the biggest airports in the world. We get people from all over the world, all sorts of different cultures, all sorts of different walks of life. And I were to go there and I would say, I see people dressing differently. I see people speaking differently. I see people behaving differently, the way they eat, the way they talk, the way they, all sorts of different things. And I could immediately, and human nature would be to, whether I know it, like it or not, start judging them as good or bad based on my perspective growing up in this bubble in Western New Jersey. And so I'm going to say, oh, I would never dress that way. I would never talk that way. I would never eat that way. I would never treat somebody else that way. Like all these different, you're judging them. By the way, real quick, I'll just put a small side note. Doesn't mean there's certain behaviors that don't have consequences, right? There is always the importance of serving others, connecting with others, and being kind, right? And if you behave certain ways, there are going to be certain consequences and results. But that's none of my business, how someone else is, right? So when I start, instead of judging them as good or bad, I honestly I recognize that I'm judging them as good or bad, better me or worse than me. And instead just go, I wonder what their life is like. Like, what did every single second of their life has been like to get them to this point where they are exactly behaving the way they are right now when I'm judging them. And when you start to do that, you've now gone from judgment to curiosity. You've shifted your energy, and you've also introduced empathy, understanding, curiosity to a space where now we can connect, and we start to realize that we're not separate anyway. We're all just one. And had I been born to that person's parents, and lived every single second of their life up until that moment, had every experience, good, bad, ugly, every fear, every reaction to all of those experiences, and come to be who they are in that moment. When I ran into them at Newark Airport, I would literally be the exact same person that they are. And so for me to judge them anyway makes no sense whatsoever, because it literally is not, it's not me, right? It's not, it doesn't make any sense because I don't have their perspective. And when we start to step into this every single day, now we take that back to ourselves and we start to say that, why am I judging myself as good or bad? Anybody who lived every single second of my life would be exactly who I am right now. And so now that's okay. My past doesn't have to equal my future. I can decide I can take the time to look at who I've become in this moment, decide whether it's serving me or not, decide whether it's who I want to be in the now. And if it's not, start being curious as to what can I do about that? Who would I rather be? Start writing it down. And once you get clarity and really just ask yourself these questions. And the other piece to curiosity is when you start utilizing it, your brain is a machine that will answer questions that you ask it. So ask yourself empowering questions that serve your purpose. The more you start to do that, the more you start to respond in a way that serves you and others. And then once you have clarity on, because you've had that curiosity, you have the answers more, you can start stepping into that every single day. And when you start to remind yourself that this is a choice, I can do this every single day of my life, and I don't have to be anything that anybody else wants me to be. Literally, this is a huge planet, billions of people, billions of opportunities, now more than ever, where, you're over across the ocean and you and I are having this amazing conversation. You can do things like this every day. You can connect with people all over the world. Start pursuing who you want to be and people like that, and your life will unfold the way you want it to.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a spanner in the works, or just play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And obviously, I know it doesn't happen to be my beliefs, but it may be that of listeners.
Sure.
So when someone talks about so I'll role play for you and just say, so you're saying don't judge. So are you effectively saying I shouldn't have an opinion about something?
I'm saying not at all. I'm saying you can learn from the opinion, and by adding curiosity instead of judgment. So the opinion can be based on your perspective, based on your background. And so I'm saying you can have an opinion, but then it's also would serve you as a human being to be curious as to how true that opinion is and how valid that opinion is.
But surely the opinion is based on making a judgment.
It is. And then also just be open to that opinion not being completely correct. So feel free to listen. And by the way, for me to judge somebody for judging, seriously though, right? It's not what I'm doing either. So I'm not saying, in fact, so thank you for that, because I'm not saying you shouldn't judge. I'm saying I don't judge, and here's why.
Yeah.
And by the way, and let me even clarify that, I catch myself judging, and when I do my best to shift it to curiosity. So by no means am I this, oh, don't worry, I'm this perfect human being, and I never. So I'm saying, philosophically speaking and intentionally, the way I raise my children, who I want to be every day is someone who doesn't judge.
Yeah.
But I don't judge other people for judging, because had I lived every single second of their life up until this moment, I would be as judgy as they are.
Yeah. And I remember thinking about judgment, thinking, I try my best not to judge. But I used to term the word judgment with opinion, as in I form an opinion about somebody. And you think of it as almost with that negative connotation. I'm judging you, and people feel judged or they feel criticized. But actually, to judge someone is just to label them in whatever capacity. It's I judge this to be good, I judge this to be bad, I judge this to be big, I judge this to be small, I judge this to be red, I judge this to be blue. It's actually, which ultimately is based on our learnings, our beliefs, our experiences. And so what we're effectively saying is, let's not transfer that energy onto somebody else. So there is no label, there just is.
Or separation even.
Exactly. They're just beautiful. Yeah, there is no separation. There just is at any one moment in time, which then brings us
the eternal now.
Exactly. Which then brings us beautifully onto this concept of being present. Because I mean, I do this. This is the kind of work that I do with my clients. So I know there's a big overlap with what we do, talking about letting go, releasing, being in the now, being present, being. For me, it's all about, let's help you to be rather than want all the time. Let's get you to be. It's the I could, but I want to get over the rainbow. Well, how would it feel to just be on that rainbow?
Totally.
And enjoy every moment of that journey. So tell us about what your opinion is about being present. What does that mean?
It's so powerful, because as I kind of excitedly shouted out earlier, I think there is only now anyway, right? This is so to be present is to realize that in any given moment, if I'm thinking about something that happened 2 weeks ago, last week, 10 years ago, I'm thinking about what someone somewhere else thinks, I'm worried about the future, you're not here. Your brain, your thought, every time we have a thought, it is literally creating energy, and you are focusing your physical energy into something else somewhere else. And more often than not, in those places where stress, anxiety comes from, your thoughts are thinking of things that are not making you excited to be alive, right? In the now. And when that happens in the now, your physical body starts creating stress chemicals and stress hormones that are physically having an effect on you. So this is all by being worried about what someone else somewhere else thinks, by being worried about what I said last week and if someone's not going to like that, or an email that I sent yesterday and is my boss going to get mad at me, or something that happened to me in high school and whatever. Just if you're worried about what someone else somewhere else thinks at any point, you're typically not present. If you're scared for the future, if you're unsettled about something that's going to happen that hasn't happened yet, you're not present. And so and I'm saying this out loud for me as much as for you, so that I remember to say it. I want to go back to because I love what you just said about the rainbow, about enjoying being on the rainbow right now, type of thing, because there's a really huge thing there that is so powerful. But to even go back to a quick tip and tool for being present is to just recognize what your senses are doing, right? If you're feeling like, hey, I'm curious as to what this presence thing can be. Oh, is that just something that monks do? Is it just a thing? Do I have to, be a guru to decide how to be present? No, right? Obviously, I know there's all sorts of memes out there, right? We'll see about being present. But if this is something that you want to try more of, you start to this conversation is like saying, okay, I don't really know enough about being present, but I'd like to try it a little bit because it seems like something that I haven't been able to do in the past. A very basic way to start is just to recognize what the five senses are doing, right? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? Can I feel the air, against the skin of my face? Am I here now? And when you start, and then once you recognize, okay, by the way, this goes back to the gravity, sunlight, oxygen that is happening all around, literally so that you can exist today. And when you start to take that concept into the now, into the present, and realize that there is only now, like the past is just previous nows that we typically remember not even the way they actually happened. We typically remember them to feed our narrative, whatever the story is that we're telling ourselves over and over again around why life isn't good. And hopefully why life is good. But what I'm saying, if you're in that space where you're feeling like a victim, you feel like life is happening to you, you're typically spending a lot of time thinking about the past and you're living in that past all the time. And you're constantly releasing the same chemicals and you're building the same habits of the same thoughts every single day, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day that are about not now, right? And so in the now, you're getting the physical response to those thoughts as if it's happening to you now. So instead, recognize that you have the option to literally say, who do I want to be right now? What would it be like to create a person who is present? If somebody was present, how would they be behaving in this moment? And then again, we're introducing curiosity, right? So I'm now detaching myself from the story about the past. And I'm now introducing curiosity. What would it be like to be a person who is present? All of a sudden my brain is saying, oh, I don't know, what would it be? And typically your stories are like, well, it doesn't matter because I can't be present because this happened and that. Okay, that's not what I'm asking though, right? So we're talking to ourselves yet. But I'm asking, what would it be like to create a person who's present? How would a person who's present behave? Well, I guess, what's that?
And feel.
And absolutely, yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. So they would sit here, they would be here now. They would recognize the beauty in sunlight, the beauty in oxygen, the beauty in everything that's around there. If you're inside, recognize there's things around you that you created or brought into your life. If you're outside, just to recognize nature as a whole thing that is literally sustaining your existence. And it sounds powerful, and that's because it is, or it sounds maybe deep to some other people, but it really is deep. It is this whole concept of that we are not just these meat suits running around on a planet. We are literally, if it gets down to physical energy, right? I mean, we're literally made up of the exact same things that the stars and the sun and the moon and the earth and the plants, it's all the same stuff. It's all physical energy on the micro level. And so when you take time to think about that, okay, so what type of energy do I want to be right now? What type of energy, how do I want to feel, to your point, right, in this moment? Like, and you ask yourself that question, then say, okay, let me do that for a second. And you start to build up that habit of doing it more and more. You go from a second to 2 seconds to 10 seconds to 30 seconds to a minute to 2 minutes to 10 minutes, whatever, it becomes this thing. And then the more you start to do, you start to realize, like, this is much better. This is much better than worried about my past.
Yeah. And, the picture I get is of, you've got like you're getting on the elevator on the ground floor, but then as you start to be present, it always it churns a little bit as it starts to go up, and then it just escalates, and you can feel that whoosh in your stomach. Yeah. It suddenly shoots up to the 150th floor or whatever country you happen to be. But so in that, it's like, okay, there's the be present, and you've talked about the pain points, as it were, of therefore you don't engage with the destructive energy, the hormones that are eating away at you, that cause stress, that cause us to be ill. But conversely, where are we going towards? And imagine yourself, you're in that lift and you're going to get out, and you're going to get out of that skylight, and there's a great bar there, and you're going to enjoy the most phenomenal view. So to be present in that moment allows you to engage in that sense of joy, that sense of opportunity, because when we're distracted, we don't notice what's going on around us. We don't notice that, you know, your child might be pointing at that beautiful double rainbow because you're busy looking on your phone, and you could have seen the smile on their face, and it could have filled you with so much heartwarming joy. And you know what, the WhatsApp message or the Facebook message could have waited a few more seconds, you know, by prioritizing or just by blocking off your time. So to feel joy, to engage in opportunity, to have a sense of purpose, and then to connect. You talk about nature, you know, the beautiful, the oxygen, the sun, the air that we breathe, the greenery that we see, but to have that connection with ourselves, with each other, with our spirit,
with life itself,
God, what, you know, whatever that happens to be, tapping into your intuition of who you want to be. You're all able to do that when you become present, and when you are able to do that, that's what drives you forward. To then we bring in the tangibles, you know, the goals, the wants, the things that you want to achieve, and for whatever reason that happens to be.
Yeah, and then you start creating in the present based on the awareness and the power that I am, you know, a divine being, right?
Absolutely.
You start creating in the now instead of creating based on the past.
Exactly.
So you know, turn the past into wisdom. So there's education that you can use to decide who you want to be and what you want to do. But then, you know, in the now, you start creating, to your point, with the tangible, and starting to decide, what do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
And the other thing that totally just, and this is what I was touching on before, so I'm glad, because you're exactly right. So now we start looking at the future, and the challenge is that so many people feel like I'm chasing a future feeling. The reason I have my job X amount of hours a day, the reason that I'm doing this different stuff is I think that one day I'll retire, or I'll get this or whatever. And then when I get that, I will feel good. Or I'm chasing this because then I will feel happy. And I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm living an unhappy life, to be honest with you, because I'm working really hard so that one day I can enjoy life. And so they're actually, in that, you are creating energy that is repeating I'm working too hard, and I'm angry, and I'm not enjoying life. Like, that's what you're seeing. That's what you're thinking about. That's what you're doing. And that's what you're getting over and over and over again, in hopes that one day the opposite is going to show up. And so, to your point of being here now, when you start to recognize that I can literally spend a half hour today with my eyes closed, thinking about and feeling exactly how I would feel when all those things are accomplished. I can be there right now, and I can close my eyes, and I can live in that space. I can, going back to your, you know, the kid who sees the rainbow, I can use my imagination to literally invoke elevated emotions, and literally invoke chemicals into my body that are making my life beautiful and enjoyable and present in the now. And when I start to do that, I'm no longer chasing it. And so then, from a quantum physics level, not only am I no longer chasing this one day good feeling that I have to work so hard to get to, which is, you know, through time and space, it's far off in the future. I'm now, by being here now and creating the actual feeling that I believe will occur once I've accomplished or reached that outcome, I'm now attracting the experience to me. And so I don't have to chase it anymore. So it's like, stop pushing on the pull door, right? There's this door, and it says pull, and you're sitting there with your arm going, I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get through it. And one day this door is going to open. And when I get there, I'm going to love life. I can't wait, everybody. In the meantime, this sucks because it's really hard to push against this door, as opposed to, no, just sit here and pull and just enjoy it, and let the energy flow to you.
And let it be easy. So we've talked about being present, being joyful, and because I want to get onto your lovely book. Well, actually, it's your podcast as well, isn't it? But your book. So the third word is about patience. Yeah.
So, and patience is actually the first chapter. So the book is called Be Patient, Be Present, Be Joyful, as is the podcast. And patience is the first chapter for a reason, because it's the one thing that I think everybody can recognize that they've either been or not been, right? So I've not been patient. And you're sitting in traffic, you're waiting on a phone call, you're waiting on something. We have gotten so used to the immediacy of life in today's society that we are not a patient people. I think in general, most people find themselves often not patient. And patience is leading to presence, right? So that's why it says be patient, be present, be joyful. And it's the point where if you can decide that I'm no longer waiting on something, and that everything is exactly going to unfold the way that it's supposed to. My job is to enjoy the journey and to create along the way. By no means, I'm not saying sit on your hands and do nothing and just, wait for things to happen. The opposite. It's mostly just about deciding who you want to be in the moment while you are waiting for everything to occur, and or taking action while you're waiting. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying wait. But yeah, I mean, I think my biggest lesson in patience as an adult came a couple of years ago. I had a meeting with a really important client in New York City, and I was just meeting them for the first time, and I was really excited, and I was late. And first of all, I was late already just because I think kids and stuff at home, whatever. And then I got in the car and I was late because of traffic, and so I was even more late. And I found myself sitting in this car, angry and stressed and worried that I was late for this event. And I was like, okay, so I'm just sitting here in this metal box being angry and worried and stressed and anxious. I'm creating all these thoughts because I'm worried about not having enough time, when really time is all we have, right? So in this time, who do I want to be? And I started remembering any other times in the past when I had been late for something and I showed up and it worked out fine. And I showed up late for something and the other person was late. And I showed up late for something and the night ended up being amazing. And it was about 30 seconds of, I'm so sorry I'm late, like this happened, that happened. And meanwhile, there I am just kind of complaining about what happened to me. The other person was like, okay, well, let's move on. Like we're here. You know what I mean? So once I realized that this was all, again, just a story, and I was creating energy in my body that didn't serve me or the outcome that I wanted. And by the way, so then I shifted it immediately and I turned on some amazing music, and I sat in my car and I had an amazing rest of my ride into New York City, and I was late, and we had a great night. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, like, again, by the way, going back to fear of what someone else thinks, right? In the space of me being late, I was worried that this person was not going to like me or think that I was good enough, whatever it is, because I'm late. And so letting all of that go and deciding, recognizing that I am right here, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I get to decide who I want to create in this moment. I can be patient with the traffic. I can be patient with life itself, and start creating gratitude in the moment for who I am and all the things that I have in every single second of my life. When you start to do that, again, from a quantum level, now you're thinking about things to be grateful for. Life is going to give you more things to be grateful for.
Yeah. I wrote. I had an article published this week in Kizzy magazine. It's for again professional business people and entrepreneurs. And I was talking about they're doing all this. They're doing featured pieces on law of attraction. So they asked me to write an article for them, and I use two aspects about how you can use our intuition to propel ourselves forward. And so one of them springs to mind when you talk about the patience and the stories piece, because it's a little bit like, imagine you've got a business deal going on, and on your end you've done all the work, your contracts are ready, your lawyers your end are ready, you're ready to sign, everything is raring to go. On the other side, because of course this is about co-creating, when we resonate at such a high energy level and we want to create things in our lives, it's co-creating. So the other side might not be ready. Now it may just be they've got more I's to dot, more T's. They might have more people to put in place. They might have bigger teams to manage it. So, look at it like a business deal. But you've had the assurance from the other lawyers that this is going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. So if you tell yourself this story, you could do two things. You could stress every day, checking your emails, checking your phone, phoning everybody up, trying to force it to happen sooner. Or you could sit back, relax, make the most of the opportunity that you've got a bit of breathing space, knowing it's going to happen, i.e. just be patient, because intuitively, you've been told. So just trust your intuition and know that it will happen. Be patient, tell yourself a different story. And then what happens to the energy? How good do you feel in that? In which case you will co-create it much, much faster.
Yeah, there's only now. So you might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the other piece to that, and a similar analogy, is like when you order stuff on Amazon or whatever, right? You don't sit there like, oh my gosh, I hope that the factory works, and I hope that the people at Amazon can find what I ordered, and that the postal service knows how to get it to my house. What's good? Oh my gosh. No, you click the button and you say thank you, right?
Right. And occasionally you get a notification saying it's a bit delayed, and you're like, oh, well, that's okay. It will turn up. And so it will turn up, so you don't stress about it.
Right. And then if it doesn't turn up, you can just ask for it again.
Exactly. So it's all possible as long as you are open and you are patient and present and joyful.
That's it.
So show me the book.
That's it. Mic drop. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. So yes, the book. And by the way, thank you so much for allowing me to share it with the audience.
Oh, pleasure.
And I just want to share it with everybody. I wrote this book as much for me as for everybody else. You can see that it's relatively small. So I wrote this with the intention of two ways to use it. One is that you can sit down and read straight through it in like 35 minutes, right? I am not a reader. There are some books out there that will absolutely change your life. I will just not finish most of them. Right? So there's typically like 300 pages, and it's going to be like, 100 pages telling you what they're going to tell you, another 100 pages telling you what they told you or what they're telling you, and then the third 100 pages telling you what they just told you, which is good. It's value.
That's quite a judgment. That's quite a judgment there, Ryan.
That's true. It's a broad brush. So in my experience, I found this, and by the way, that's a good thing because it helps you remember what it is and you take it all in, right? It's an observation. I'll call it an observation.
Okay.
And so that's not my style. So I'm not going to read those books. Or I will, but I just won't finish them. And so I wanted a book like, listen, if I'm having a stressful day, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm feeling anxious, I just want something that I can pick up and maybe read through in 30 minutes and have some tangible walkaway steps and some understanding of what my ability as a human being is to not cope, but create in this moment with this information that I got out of the book, right? So the concept is that you read straight through it and you have those takeaways. And then either A, after that, or B, even if you didn't do that, it's also created very intentionally as a first aid kit. So that there, obviously you can tell by the design, but the subtitle is a first aid kit for the emotional bumps, scrapes, and bruises of life.
Love it.
And so the point is if I'm having a tough day, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, if I'm late, I'm sitting in traffic, I could keep this in my purse. I could keep this in my back pocket. I could keep this in my glove compartment, something I can carry on me in my backpack if I'm going around with kids, a lot type of thing. And I can just open it to any page and find something. It's literally physically designed so that you find something on every page that could serve you in the moment. In fact, do you want to try an experiment? We'll dive in.
I was going to do it energetically through the screen, but maybe if we each do it. So ask your question and then open it at a page. What do you need to know right now?
Well, I was going to say, do you want to pick a number between 1 and I was just going to, you.
Yeah, otherwise I'm just going to get you for me. I want to know what comes up for you and then we'll do me.
Okay. If you carry joy in your heart, you can heal any moment. And that is a quote by Carlos Santana. And you'll notice there are also some, some nice drawings there. So we've got some art to it as well.
And then do you talk about, and then the next page with the text, so you talking about that?
So that's part of that. Yeah, that's the opening thing for the joyful. So this is all about, so the chapter on be joyful, right? So chapter 3 is be joyful. And real quick, so I'll dial it back just to talk a minute about the book if I could. So just to give a little more context.
Yeah.
So there's an epilogue. There's a prologue, there's 3 chapters and an epilogue. And the prologue is something we've touched on a lot here. It's called You Are a Creator. And it's just reminding you, before you even read this book, you need to be very aware that you are always and in always creating something. If I wake up in the morning and I put on blue shirt, blue pants, a blue hat, blue socks, I've created a person dressed in blue. Right now, you and I are creating 2 people recording an amazing podcast. If we create conversation, we create art, we create businesses. If I write down a bunch of words on a piece of paper, I put a period at the end, I'm creating a sentence. I know this is obvious. You put 2 pieces of bread, you put some peanut butter on one side, some jelly on the other, you've created a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But we also create anger, we create stress, we create anxiety, we create overwhelm. And that's not to say that those things are not valid and that nobody should feel that way at all, ever. Emotions are important. They are a response to our thoughts. They are there. But I do want everybody else to recognize that they are also being created by you. You are creating the anger, the anxiety, the frustration, the stress, the overwhelm through your thoughts, right? Your body's having a physical reaction to the thoughts that you are creating and not monitoring. So knowing that, right, then we go into chapter 1. So if you don't want to be anxious anymore, let's start off with patience. You're probably worried that there's not enough time somewhere. And so then what would it be like to create a person who is patient, right? And it goes on a lot of stuff we touched on already. Then chapter 2 is be present. How do we create a present person? Chapter 3 is joy. Joy is free. If you want, you can create joy in any moment. It gives some tips. At the end of each chapter, there's a whole page called Band-Aids. So you can just hear some quick pointers. So it's the theme of a first aid. And then the epilogue is keep going. On your best day and on your worst day, as long as, and I touched on this earlier, as long as you are on the path, as long as you say you're on the path, you are. So keep going. On your worst day, if you're feeling like everything's over, but you keep going, it's not over. And on your best day, you feel like you've done it all. If you keep going, you can do more. I'm not saying never rest, never enjoy life, never celebrate wins of life. Obviously, that's a huge part of the keep going, but you can still do more. You can be more of who you want to be. You can empower others to do the same. You can just live more on purpose. So keep going, right? So that's the whole concept of this quick 4 chapters. And so just now, when I opened up, so chapter 3 was on it's called Be Joyful. And that was the opening of the chapter was Carlos Santana saying, "In every moment can create joy." Okay, I don't know what it was, but
Okay, so how many pages?
Altogether, it is 70 pages.
Okay, all right. I'd like page number 65.
Page number 65.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by the way, this whole second half of the book, real quick, and I'm sorry, just to give you some clarity here. The first half of the book is what I told you, right? Prologue, chapter 1, 2, 3, epilogue. The second half of the book is called CPR. And it's made up of there's just different blurbs, different passages on each page. And so on page 65, there's 4 different passages. And so now you get to choose 1, 2, 3, or 4.
2.
2.
Mm-hmm.
Make time to appreciate your surroundings today. Today is the only day like this you will ever have. Look around at all the abundance that surrounds you and sustains your very existence. Where will the stream of life take you today?
Lovely.
Quick and easy, right? Just stuff. It's so basic.
Thank you.
There's just all this. So that's the second part.
Yeah.
So at any point you can open and find something, right?
Yeah, just what you need. Yeah, exactly. And I love, actually, I really, obviously being in the medical field originally, I love, the Band-Aids, the CPR. So you mix the quotes, the inspiration with the philosophy so people understand it and the practicality.
Yeah. And it's pretty, for lack of a better word.
It's pretty. Okay,
I mean,
your turn. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm ready.
You've got a few more pages to go.
Nice.
So
doesn't matter. I'm gonna go with. I didn't mean to judge. I didn't mean to judge your book as lengthy. By the way, there. Yeah.
You've got up to. It's okay. Each chapter is about something different. So
yeah,
you got up to page 215.
Let's go with page 44.
Oh yeah, your favorite number.
Yes, it is.
4. Oh, okay. Oh. 44. Okay, well, actually, we don't have any headings on this page, so
let's double it then. Let's double down. We'll do 88.
88. Well, because otherwise, I was going to say I'd give you a paragraph to pick. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. You opened the section you opened up on 44 is about spirituality and about listening to yourself.
Yeah.
And about being conscious and about awakening. Actually, on page 44, it says, think of the word awaken. When we get up in the morning, we awaken from an unconscious state. We also use it as a term to come out of some kind of trauma or have a sudden realization and say, I woke up. And that might not mean we physically woke up, and then it goes on to talk about how you spiritually wake up. So again, it's about my book. Yeah, I like you. I like to be very practical. And so we realize all these terms that we use in everyday life, let's take the woo-woo-ness out of it. Let's talk about consciousness, because not everybody is spiritual in that way. But, how many times do we use the term energy and vibe? And I really that resonates with me. We're not talking about psychics when we're talking about that. So the page
we're not talking about angels and crystals and that type of thing.
And I'm not gonna, and I'm not saying I'm not gonna judge that. And actually,
right.
And I'm all for that personally. But but each to their own. And so I won't put my judgment onto anybody else. But just that terminology of awakening and a mass awakening. Actually, if you ground it down and think, actually, how often do you use it in our practical life? We wake up in the morning, we go from an unconscious state to a conscious state, in which case, why can we not do that in our lives all the time? Which it comes back to being present, to let me stop the distractions, let me be awake, let me be here right now, to enjoy, to be in joy.
And gratitude for the now.
Gratitude.
To start your day with gratitude is probably the best practice for anybody. Can really start changing things, because I actually started a practice years ago where I would, as soon as I recognized that I was awake, And I love that passage, by the way. Thank you really genuinely for sharing that. As soon as I recognized in the morning that I was awake, I would start with, thank you for my pillow. Thank you for my blanket. Thank you for my bed. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for the room that I'm in. Thank you for that. And I slowly just start expanding, right? Thank you for my children. Thank you for the cars that are outside. Thank you for my property. Thank you for the refrigerator. And as I'm lying there in bed, thinking of all these different things, instead of stepping to my day, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do today? Am I late? Oh my God, I got the kids out. I got to do. I'm just creating gratitude for existence itself. And so I started doing this so often intentionally that now it literally happens automatically. My automatic nervous system just kicks in. Like sometimes I don't know that I'm consciously awake in bed. The reason I know that I'm consciously awake in bed is because all of a sudden I'm feeling gratitude.
Yeah.
And now that happens, it's just, again, it's setting up my life for success and who I want to be.
Yeah. And I also do it before I go to bed as well. Because again, when if we've had what inevitably may be a stressful day, or we feel tired, or we might feel a bit down, it's that beautiful wind down just to engage in everything, everyone, every experience that you have to be grateful for. For me, it certainly helps me get to sleep much more easily and peacefully.
Totally. And when you start realizing that life is happening for you every single moment, that makes it so much easier to be grateful. Like, okay, so I can be grateful because this is all happening for me. And then, by the way, on those stressful days, on those overwhelming days, when you shift into not only gratitude, but again, curiosity, what were the lessons of the day? I'm curious as to what were my lessons of today, because I don't feel awesome right now, rightfully so. This happened, that happened. So how, and not with anger or sarcasm, but how did this happen for me? Mm-hmm. What is the wisdom I can obtain from today's experience?
Yeah. What's the learning opportunity?
Totally. And how can I take that information now as wisdom and push it into my tomorrow to decide who I want to be when I start my day? Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to gain wisdom so that I can have a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. Weave it all in. I love it. I love it. Now, so we have run out of time. So I want people to be able to get in touch with you. Obviously, your book is available on Amazon, right?
It sure is. Yep. In fact, if you go there, I've got, does everyone show up one more time? There it is.
Hold it up again. So be patient, be present, be joyful by Ryan Stanley. Red cross on it. Beautiful.
So Amazon, if you go there, I think right now I've got 48 reviews. They're all 5 stars. Actually, that's not that. There's 47 5 stars. There's one 4-star review, but they said very nice things about the book. So maybe they just wanted to be a little bit different.
It's about judgment again, my friend.
Exactly. So stop judging me, number 47.
I've had people say to me that it's the best book I have ever read, and they've given me 4 out of 5 stars. I'm like, oh, why would you give me 4 out of 5 stars? And it's because the stories they tell themselves is that nothing can be perfect. That's their story detached from it.
Yeah, totally. I say it in the sense that please check it out and read the reviews, because you'll get a little bit more insight, not just what I've been able to share with you, but other people's perspectives as well.
Yeah, and also, if you love the book, please do review it, and because it will only help others. It's a way of service, not just for Brian, but to help other people as well.
And honest reviews are a blessing, and I would ask for nothing less. If you want to put the 4 in there, put those 4 stars in. Yeah, 5 is better. That's a judgment.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said we'll give you a double rainbow for that.
Yes, to say the least. And actually, you say that, and now I'm putting it out there. Anybody out reads the book and you put a 5-star, the next day I'm putting it out there into the universe that you will see a double rainbow. So stranger things have happened. But you can also go to ryanstanley.com, obviously. So my name is Ryan Stanley. It's RyanStanley. If you go there, you can actually buy a book directly from me. If you do, it'll come signed with a little note from me to you. And depending on my availability, it'll also come with a complimentary coaching session. So feel free to check it out there. And then you can also find me at teachmetosell.com, as we touched on earlier. So if you are a new coach, if you are a consultant, if you are a service-oriented solopreneur who's new to sales, or even just want you've kind of aligned with my vibe, right? As we were talking about earlier today, that you've gotten some good things from my way of being. Check out Teach Me to Sell on YouTube, and there's a ton of videos there that are, a lot of it is literally this is exactly what you see. You see me in my office just kind of talking about life, philosophy, intention, purpose, follow through. So check us out there. And I think that's it for now. A couple other projects, but we'll leave them for another time.
Well, you've already set the intention at the beginning saying I'm going to have you back. So
yes. So far, and I don't want to, but I want you to, I'm excited to get your feedback on favorite episode. We don't have to put it right now out there, but at another time, by the time I come back, we will digress and see where we're at.
Okie dokie. It was pretty good. It was, yeah. No,
Nice.
but
solid 4 stars, Ryan. Solid 4-star guesting.
But that would be forming an opinion, and I'm not sure I'm allowed. I'll give you a 10 out of 10. Why not?
Nice. So, yeah, don't judge me as being as your best guest ever. So, who am I to say?
We have to practice what we preach, right?
Absolutely.
Ryan, thank you for being an amazing 10 out of 10. 5-star review.
5-star all around.
Yes, today I had a lot of fun, a lot of insight. It was just great, just bouncing off those mutual ideas and just putting them into different words and different vocabularies, because it will resonate with people in so many different ways. So for that, I am very grateful, and we'll really look forward to having you back to talk about your next projects for sure.
Nice. Rana, blessed to be here, genuinely, and blessed to make a friend. So thank you for being you.
Oh, yeah, absolute pleasure. So we are out of time. Please do take a look at those links. I'll post them in the comments as well, to follow Ryan and get in touch with him. Check him out on YouTube. And for me, I would be so grateful if you would hit the subscribe button and share as well, because we have so much love to share, and I have so much gratitude to give. So there we go. But for now, my 3 favorite phrases: be free, be fun, be fearless. Bye-bye. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Well, did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want: a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you, this simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com